Welcome to the Tech on Toast podcast. We are the home of hospitality tech. Whether you're an operator wanting to untangle your tech or a technology provider wanting to join our community, we are the largest hospitality tech growth platform on the planet. Now sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome everyone to the next episode of Tech on Toast podcast, and this week I'm delighted to be joined by my old mucker, Alex Dyer, MD at Bizimply.
Oh, and James Brown has just
appeared in the window. Hello, James. I told you he was coming in. Alex, welcome. How are you?
Thanks very much for having me.
No, you're welcome. And now in London today, have you got on a jolly, or you just come to see me, or have you got some meetings?
Just you, and then heading back home to the local pub for the England game.
Oh, I feel privileged. Yeah, we're in Brewdog, and there is no furniture, but I can see in the corner there are about 10 kegs stacked up, so me and Alex won't be partaking here.
Should we have said we were watching it here?
Probably, yeah.
For James.
We're
watching it here.
Yeah. We're here early just to get ready. So look, before we get started, because we have a bit of a, I would say competitive past, but we have, without knowing each other, we were against each other for our early part of our career. But tell us a little bit first about, I suppose, who you are and Bizimply, and then we'll get into your checkered past and operations.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Alex Dyer, UK Managing Director of Bizimply. We are an employee management tool that works with hospitality, retail and healthcare venues throughout the UK and Ireland.
Yes, and your founder, who is a lovely man, Gerard, who I've met recently, is one of my favourite founders. Is that a good thing to say, favourite founders? But yeah, he's just a very cool guy, and it feels like they've recruited around that. Is that right?
Absolutely. He, he's mad as a box of frogs, and he probably won't mind us saying that. Yeah. He's hospitality through and through. Yeah. Was an operator, had about 8 kind of health cafe kind of shops across Dublin, and then realised, why am I spending all this time in the office? I should be out on the floor talking to customers, working with colleagues. Surely tech can help with a lot of this admin. And built Bizimply. And I think the one thing I really kind of learned and felt that was made apparent when I joined was it's just a mad dysfunctional family of hospitality workers.
Which is like what we did, right? In
Literally
our early careers, where we spent, well, actually most of my career, but spent in the industry. And just, I always say that the tech, or forget tech from it, but suppliers should try and, not deliberately, that's fake, but represent what they're selling into, or at least understand what they're selling into. And dysfunctional families is exactly what we were, right, for many years. And on that point, what made you join hospitality? I said, what? Because you've had some cracking career moves. We'll get into them in a minute. But what made you start, I suppose, in hospitality? What drew you into it?
Probably actually my mum and dad, just because I've been a lover of food and drink, I think, since I was a baby. Mum used to give me and my brother breadsticks and put us under the table to shut us up while they were having dinner with friends, and we've been like that ever since. But
so middle class, Alex. Here's a breadstick. When I was literally put outside, but yeah.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said breadsticks. Yeah,
no, it's fine. I love it. After 8 and a breadstick. Stay there, child.
But that was it. They were at restaurants wanting to, enjoy their evenings out and after work and whatever. And we were obviously around, and they were like, "Well, go under the table, eat some food, shut up, and we'll carry on." But yeah, that mean like our first mum and dad live out in the countryside, and the local pub, obviously everyone knows everyone, and my first job was a pot as the pot washer.
Yes.
In the pub, and then my brother joined.
All the best people start, my friend.
Had to, and we were A pot and C pot. And my brother's name was Charlie, and he was C pot, and I was A pot, and we just we started in the kitchen, and it was like the baptism of fire. I think I have never worked in a place, or had never even dreamt of a place like that was just bananas. When it's all calm, you're getting everything all ready, and service hits, and it just bang, shit hits the fan, everything's all crazy, to then when the last order comes through and it just relax again. And it was mad. It was...
Yeah, there's something about that last ticket mentality. I used to... Because as you get older in the career, you're trying to close down earlier and earlier, trying to get out the shift quicker. But it's something... There's a certain vibe, isn't there? I don't think till you've done it, it's very hard to explain the feeling of being in the shit.
I can still hear that the ticket that comes... And I have not worked as an operator in a long time, but I can still hear that. That's ingrained in me.
We opened a Hard Rock in Moscow in the 90s, and the kitchen had 28 Micros printers. It was just a long line, right? And there was a bit of an issue with pay. It was a franchise site, and they hadn't been paid all the chefs, so they just walked, right? And I'll never forget the sound of that line, with just thousands of people ordering burgers and nobody there to cook it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an interesting... But anyway, yes, I think that there's certain noises and phrases, right, from hospitality, and that is something that if you've worked in, you're probably having PTSD.
I remember walking, walking outside as most kitchen staff do, and you go and get your fresh air whenever there's like no tickets on, and walking outside and you could just hear that and you're like, shit, I thought I was...
What do they do now? Do you think they vape in their breaks? You know, because I presume you're referring to your fresh air break being
I was, yeah. A quick fag, you know. I think I got down to having a fag in about a minute and a half, just...
Hospitality skills, that is.
Just before you get back. I mean, it was that and cans of Monster and Red Bull that were the fuel to keep us going.
I don't know why no one wants to join the industry. I can't see such a healthy place to be. And you were, how old were you when you were there? Like
so when I started in as a pot wash, I was probably 15, 16. I think I've got pay slips that were like £3 an hour. The dad
Shame on you, employers.
But that was it. And then I worked as like a waiter in a little Italian restaurant in Godalming, where all my friends worked. And it was I mean, every experience I've had in hospitality, it comes down to team. Like, you just look at it. It's the ones you enjoy are the ones where you had a mega team.
Yeah.
Everyone that's in on it. You're in the shit together. You're in the good times together. And I loved it. It was every shift was different.
I was saying to you as well, you rarely talk about what you did as a job. You just talk about the people you were with. I think that's the lasting memory I have from all my time is just the fun I had, and even the bad times I had. I think you get to know people very quickly when you're in the shit with someone. Yeah. Like literally on the line, you just 25 tickets deep. You're like, okay, me and you're going to make friends now because we've got to get out of this.
And if we're not, I'm going to know. Okay, well you can't handle it, or can you handle it?
Yeah, you're dead to me.
That's it. It's kind of there's nowhere to hide. But I guess that's the same when you're front of house. Yeah. And like at Jamie Oliver's, for example, like
boo,
the better out of Jamie's or Carluccio's. There were queues around the corner whenever we'd open up a new site. It was the whole Jamie Oliver ethos was natural kind of good source products to high street customers at high street prices with a celebrity name. So at the start, and obviously I know there was a colourful ending to Jamie's, but at the start, every site we opened, there were queues around the corner.
Yeah.
And as a waiter, you had to know your section and learn about your customers within a second, really, of... Do they want to be spoken to for a long time? Do they want me to go into huge detail about the specials? Are they there for a business meeting and they want me really just to...
I do wonder if that type of dining, that we went through with Carluccio's and with Jamie's, probably less with Carluccio's actually than the way you guys behaved. The competition was the fact that I was at Carluccio's and Alex was at Jamie's. But that understanding, I had a good friend called Kath Napton who worked in Cardiff as a waitress, and she met Jamie. She won a competition and met Jamie because she'd done something or other well. And Kath was mental, but one of the best girls I've ever worked with in terms of service. And I think the way you guys treated customers is kind of the last bastions of the way people do that. Like, you would know them very well, like birthday presents to be exchanged between customers and waiters, and those kind of, how's the kids, that they knew all the kids. And I know people think, well, that's normal. It's not anymore, I don't think. I think that level of detail and that level of care, and also product knowledge and menu knowledge, was, you guys were like very, very good at that. Like wines, like you're weird. Like it was like Rain Man. You guys knew all of your product. Yeah. And I think that's where we used to really want to compete with you, because you had such great table behaviour, if that's a word. But yeah, I don't know. Do you see it as much anymore as you used to? Because it was a great thing in mid 2000s, was it? I suppose.
Yeah, would have been. Oh wow.
No, yeah. Sorry, mate.
Yeah. I mean, I think I
still
young,
talk about the 90s like it's like yesterday, but apparently that's like 25 years ago.
Well, a lot more than that.
Yeah. Let's not go there.
I mean, Jamie's did it incredibly well, and you look at the team now, and actually, to be fair to them, some of them have moved on to some amazing brands that are still trying to keep that. I mean, Tom James at Bill's. I think Bill's went for a bit of
Bill's were great.
They went for a bit of an interesting patch. And, recently I saw something, I've connected with Tom on LinkedIn, obviously I've worked with him for a while. Like, he was doing something about kids' menus and then something about pancake. And it just was like, wow, you're starting to bring back that method of, we're passionate about what we're doing. We care about it. And the training we went through at Jamie's was, I can still pretty much remember that antipasti plank.
Don't tell me.
It was ingrained in my brain. I mean, like...
Yeah, ravioli 7x7, man. I can tell you that in the Carluccio's, every ravioli was 7.
Mad.
If it wasn't 7x7, it weren't getting on the plate.
Yeah.
So that's millimetres, by the way, for everyone. But it was millimetres? No, maybe it wasn't.
No, it would have been...
Centimetres.
It would have been centimetres.
Yeah, so 7x7 was our ravioli, and we used to make it fresh every day. Like, you guys used to...
Yeah, we had always by the window.
In the window, yeah.
Absolutely. And, it was the theatre. And again, like we were saying about the experience and the team you had, customers back then wanted that theatre.
Yeah.
You know, my dad always says that. He's like, every time he goes to a restaurant, he remembers that theatre or that experience, and then he'll tell everyone.
Do you think that's... I mean, I still quite like that.
Yeah.
I mean, my mum and dad, I know, loved that. We used to go to a place called Marco's in our village in Heswell, which is a little Italian, right? Like where you work, probably. And it was just... There's nothing particularly... We just loved Marco's. The family, the Marco family. They were just lovely, and they looked after us, and everyone else that went there. And I just hope that still exists in... I mean, I don't eat out enough anymore to tell you if it does or not.
I think it does at the higher end. It's a shame a lot of the high street don't. I mean, like the team at Straker's, Tom Straker, the chef, his team do that. You know, everyone comes in, they are treated like a VIP guest.
Yeah.
You have that experience. He has seats up at the kitchen that you can sit there, and literally you're less than a metre away from the chef.
I just could not have handled that.
Well,
like,
I bet on a busy day it's mad.
Not for an open kitchen.
I mean, Tom's like that, and that's part of his character. You know, and that's what you kind of want to see, and that comes down from the days of Jamie Oliver, Gordon Ramsay. Like, you know, you want to see that when you go to these things, but you also want to leave going, wow, the food. I mean, they do this sourdough mussel and butter.
So hungry right now.
It's incredible. But you know, you see that in fine dining, but you pay for it.
Yeah.
You then go to high street, and when was the last time you ever had that? I mean, the antipasti board, we would put it on, you know, bloody
that's
tomato
what I'm saying.
tins.
That kind of mid-market experiential brands that everyone was doing, you know, in mid 2000s, as I said, you know, and kind of for like a good 5-10 years, where Bill's, Carluccio's, Jamie's, all those guys. There's probably more. I
mean, even the burgers. Do you remember the likes of GBK and all of that? They were all trying to do something.
Recruiting them was much easier because everyone you brought in was experiential, and they understood what the guests wanted. Whether it was from any of those brands you mentioned, Wagga were just starting to do their thing. I know it was slightly different, but at the same time, really cared about the guest and their team. Like, obviously cared about their team, their culture. And I think that was really obvious across everywhere, but then it just seems to have dissipated. I think now that the speed of experience, we'll talk about tech in a minute, has changed the way and I think maybe the customers changed, right? I think that's the way, or our behaviour's changed.
Yeah, and also, I mean, let's be honest, operators have not had it easy over the last few years, and, you know, we're not going to mention why, because we've had enough of that word, but, like... I work with some hospitality brands still now as like an advisor, and you know, it's not been easy. They've had the shit end of the stick. It's been real tough times, and they're probably more focused on how do we keep the doors open and the lights on rather than everything else. Where we didn't have those worries back then. You know, we had the luxury of queues around the corner. You know, the customers were there, and obviously there were tougher times where the queues dried up, and you have to be a bit clever about how do you bring people in, but. People were more, I guess, the customer was more wanting to go out and dine. We didn't have Uber Eats. You didn't have Deliveroo. You know, you wanted that restaurant experience. You probably had to go out to get it. There wasn't much of have it at home, where now brands do collabs with Sainsbury's or Tesco's, and you can buy that meal
Pizza
and have
post, you know.
That's it. Pizza Express do it. You know, the pizza there. And now Pizza Express are nailing it. They do, their loyalty ties in with the retail side, so you buy it at Tesco's, and there's other supermarkets available, but buy it at Tesco's.
Again, middle class. There's one called Asda.
My wife works with Tesco's, so I have to mention, you know, give a plug to Tesco's. But like, you buy it there, you scan the QR code, and it goes onto your loyalty, the same as if you went into the restaurant. I mean, genius. Like,
and I think, again, I mean, just on that point, that the way customers are in that ecosystem in grocery, and in those kind of at-home type brands is really smart, right? They've really cornered that market. And I think there's a lot of catch-up right now happening. Well, I know there is because I get asked on a weekly basis about loyalty.
Inside knowledge.
But it's just, there's a lot of people trying to get that right at the moment. And I feel that's a journey that the industry's on.
Yeah,
I mean, we should talk about it, but you kind of blended your love of hospitality into because before I go back to that, actually, Jamie's, I'm just reading here, you went to the cinema what's the Cinema Cocktail Club? Tell me about that.
Cinema Cocktail Club was the brainchild.
Sounds like something cool.
Do you know what, it was, we learned a lot, but it was an amazing time. George Hudson, who is now he is the owner of Piano Bar Soho and Alfie's, just off of Greek Street in Soho. He's got 2 jazz bars, amazing places. If you like live music, go and check them out. But him and I were actually introduced through Dad. I had the Jamie's background. He had a serviced office business and was like, I kind of want to create something in the evenings. I've got this weird cupboard under the stairs that I always thought looked a bit Harry Potter but could be a bar. What do you think? And I looked at it and was like, if we batched a few things and we, you know, as you do back then, it's like, if we can break a few rules and get there, we could probably serve some customers. And then he was like, well, I've got a boardroom that's an old cinema. What about like hosting kind of some sort of cinema night and do cocktails before, and then they can go down and watch a film, and we'll do things like Scream, and we did those. I think we did Scream, we did Rush, did a couple of others,
all
like
the classics,
all the classic oldies. Charged them nothing really for a ticket. I mean, it was probably a £5 and it came with a cocktail.
Wow.
And then when the guests were coming, they were like an hour away. We were like, shit. How are we going to take the order? Because we can't go down in the middle of the film. You know, I'm a larger than normal human. My belly can't be in the way of the film because no one's going to bloody see it. We're like, crap, what are we doing? There was no such things really back then as QR codes, you know, or anything like that. So we were like, right, well, we got a load of paper, ripped it up to business class side, put our mobile number on it, and when can you text this number or WhatsApp, because there was no Wi-Fi, no signal, so we had to give a Wi-Fi code. Can you text this number? Here's the menu, what you want. Please keep your phone light down, because obviously it's the cinema. I mean, we're talking 20 seats at the absolute most. And we loved it. It was just an idea. It was never going to go anywhere. We did probably, I think, 5 or 6 at the absolute most. It was good fun. Learned a lot from it. George then actually built and created Piano Bar Soho, which was his first venue. Then on to Alfie's, and he's now doing amazing things.
Yeah.
And that was his intro into it. And then I went on to other things, and George and I, you know, I advise on them and help them wherever I can and keep up to date with them as much as possible.
So there's a true thread, like a real clear thread of you into the industry there, isn't there? And I think, how did you end up then going from that into technology? Because I think quite clearly when you talk, it's quite interesting talking to you all the time, because the operational inefficiencies or efficiencies that we find, now we can find a different solution, whereas the solution was me or you, right?
Yeah.
Or our team.
Yeah.
That was the old solution, or paper, whatever it was,
Yeah,
right?
it was, yeah.
But now we've got all these different amazing levers we can pull. How did you end up in that world? Or do you know?
I don't. I mean, one of the memories, which I'm sure most operators that then move on to other things feel, was my friends were all finishing university. I left school and went straight into working in hospitality, never did university, and just kind of built my career up that way. Friends went to university, then finished, and were coming to the city and were getting jobs in London that finished at 5 or 6 o'clock, and then had the luxury of going, hey, well, do you want to all meet for drinks? And I was going, oh, I'm on a double today, I'm finishing, you know, I'll be there. It's the operator's
curse, isn't it? It really is.
And you were finishing late, you're catching up with your mates because they were 5 or 6 pints before you, and you know, there was a lot of that kind of fear of missing out, and being young, early 20s, you want to be involved in that. And, you know, I think I was like, oh, do I really want to have to go and open up the restaurant again? And I can't really go out for beers and get hammered. And then, you know, I'm not as young as we used to, where you literally used to go, finish, close, go to the pub, whichever late night bar was open. And then you were back in the next morning on the open.
There was a place called Ombres. Have you ever heard of Ombres?
No,
Ombres is in Piccadilly, Leicester Square, sorry. It's just off Leicester Square. It's horrific, but it was a 90s solely hospitality workers club, and it was a mess. I mean, you can imagine.
Yeah, we had at Guildford, there was one called Fahrenheit, and I mean, the likes of Leanne Gunton, who is now at Peter Pilgrim, she'll remember, like, the whole Guildford team, like even the chefs, everyone used to go. And my mate used to work at, Tom May used to go and work at Zizi's. And they used to come and meet us. And it was kind of like the hospitality
mess.
Like, we'd just go there and you'd have a few drinks and you're like, oh shit, I'm on the open tomorrow. Right, okay.
One more.
Yeah, that was it. But you were all in it together. And, you know, I really would love to, I think you and I were chatting about this on the phone the other day. I'd love to sit down and understand the people that are the age we were going into the industry now, if they're like that, because I know there's a lot less drinking. Yeah. It's not as popular with the younger age
vaping
group.
Instead of smoking or whatever it might be. You know? And it's just, I think it is very different. And I think, but again, I think the world changed, right?
Yeah,
a lot during the thing we can't talk about. Yeah. And I think a lot of people looked at what they were doing or what they were going to do. But my son is moving into, I mean, he's going to do sports science, but he's in hospitality now, earning his keep, right? He works on the street food truck and absolutely loves it.
Does it? That's it.
Man, I won't name the company because he just gets paid cash.
Yeah.
That's what the reason he really likes it. Yeah. But he loves, he loves like his banter with the customers, and like the chef who works with him is a good laugh. So they really enjoy it. But Shay does not see that as a career for him, even though Dad's done it all his life.
Yeah.
He just doesn't. It's not even in his. He just doesn't see it, which I find not upsetting. But I wish I had so much fun. I travelled the world and met cool people like you, like genuinely on a daily basis, people like you, which I think is just and you don't even speak to half of them anymore. But they're still there, right? If you picked up the phone, they'd be like, yeah, and those memories you shared come back very quickly. So, yeah, we've gone a bit of a trip down memory lane. It's
it's good.
No, it's enjoyable. It's really good. And so you came out, you did your cocktail club.
Yeah.
I used to hate summer. That's what I had. Out of when I worked in hospitality, I hated summer. because I was jealous because we used to run a massive.
But Carlucci's, you didn't have many outdoor spaces.
No,
did you?
in outside of London we did.
Oh, okay.
Everywhere I opened, they gave me a bloody terrace. So and so I started to hate it. Like, oh god, I can't even talk about them. Dorchester gives me PTSD.
I mean, we did at Westfield Shepherd's Bush. We put a ice cream truck in the middle of outside, and that was to service customers in the restaurant, but also everyone else that was going to the shopping centre. And obviously at summertime, it was a joke. But none of us knew how to do the ice creams, what the flavours were for the day, and it was front of house that were running it in the kitchen, and it was bananas. It was the most crazy experience, but you rolled your sleeve up and got on with it.
Yeah, and it links. It's weird. We've been chatting to another tech founder actually, just when we were out today before we came in the podcast studio, and we're talking about some of the struggles that actually exist in the tech world that are reflected actually in the way that hospitality businesses behave, and the fact that sometimes kind of knowing what the next step is or trying to knee-jerk through a situation where there's lack of funding or there's lack of investment around or lack of customer or you're in a really competitive space, it becomes really difficult. And I think you've navigated your way through that over the past 10 years, is it? Or 5? How long have you been in tech for, do you think?
I would probably say 8 or 5 to 8 years.
He's no idea.
I can't remember.
He just loves
that big C word kind of is blurry a bit.
Yeah.
It was just before then, so...
And when did you start then? So you came out of hospitality, you went into... which was your first one? I'm just looking.
I went into... So the first tech company I worked for was Ivy, which was a Australian event management and diary management system for kind of stadiums, hotels, wedding venues, kind of people that do dry hire events. Was amazing. Was absolutely fantastic. Started working then out in Australia and then went to Cape Town for a bit, helped there, and then went across to London and launched the team there, and then worked with the likes of Owen Boniface, who I've had the pleasure... Actually, I was his client at the start when I had my own events venue, then brought him on the team, and then I've been really lucky to work with him in a few roles.
You like the Anton Deck of hospitality tech, you talk, everywhere he is.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum, I think, is probably a bit more right.
That's trying to be nice. And it's interesting.
Dumb and Dumber, he might say.
Part of my notes here, or your notes, sorry, we're talking about, like, I alluded to there, blending hospitality with technology, actually how they kind of both sync together. And how has it influenced, I suppose, your approach to... I mean, not just because you were putting technology systems in, I presume, in your career.
Yeah.
And now you're talking to people who want to work with Bizimply or don't, right? Or are in a process, maybe you're just advising them, helping them. How do you kind of mirror those two together to help them kind of make great decisions around what they're doing?
To be honest, I try and put the operator hat on. Yeah. So it's like, sit down, learn from them, understand what are their processes, what are their foundations, what are the targets they want to hit, what's the goals for the year, what does the team do, what is every single job role, really understand their business and then go, I mean, it depends if, even at Bizimply we do this, you'll understand it and go, actually, you might not be right for our system, you might be better suited if you're actually, an enterprise customer. There are some systems out there that specialize in enterprise, or you're a smaller business that might just want something off the shelf and doesn't need anything as intuitive as us. And, obviously we'd love to work with everyone, but in the hospitality industry, you really have to understand the margins are tight. And if I'm going to implement a system, it's a big, big decision. And I would love to make sure that our customers and our whole team make sure that our customers are going to get the most out of Bizimply. We create a bespoke package to every customer. So it's kind of along those lines of not one size fits all. Let's understand your business. Let's see what you need. And yes, you might grow, but you also might contract and you might not grow. You might not need something a bit later down the line. And I guess that's where amazing kind of CS teams and onboarding teams come into it, where they really sit there and go, let's handhold you through this process.
And I was going to say, and the personality that I've met quite a lot of your team actually, mainly the marketing team, but we've met some of the other guys, and there is that thread, isn't there, of your character? I mean, probably Gerald's character, I suppose, all the way through. Yeah. But that kind of friendly, that approach to like open arms kind of thing. We're just here to help kind of thing, which I really love it. I think it's just I think you get it really quickly meeting you guys as well. And I'm not just blowing smoke because you're sitting here, but no, I genuinely believe it. When you meet those kind of people, it makes. Because I think there's a lot of confusion around buying tech. That's why we exist, right? That's why Tech on Toast exists. Yeah. There's a lot of confusion because there's a lot of systems. And as you just said, there's room for everybody probably. And there's different systems that can fit better with different people. But you have to find out how and why. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, one of the things I always look at, and I think Bizimply did prior to me as well, was when we're hiring, let's try and get someone that's got the scars from the industry, has understood it. And I call it the scars because it was one of those that you have had to go and burn yourself. You have had to make mistakes. You have had to break things, like to understand. And every restaurant or every hospitality business, or pretty much every business, has to go through that. It's not all rosy from day one. So
100%.
We've been hiring people with that experience. And then, to be honest, we've also been hiring personalities, because I think the hospitality industry is, I was going to say mad, but it's full of amazing personalities. And you have people that, if you take a front of house manager, they're very people person. They're happy to be the maitre d' and stuff like that. But if you look at a chef, they might not want to talk to people.
Yeah.
They're perfectionists. And there's an amazing show called The Bear. And look at that is just, I absolutely love that show, and I think it's fantastic. But also you look at it and you go, look at those personalities. They are that dysfunctional family.
Yeah, and a home for a lot of neurodiverse people, right, that end up living there. This is a phrase that no one would have even kicked around, right? Not even 10 years ago, I suppose, that lots of people who worked in the industry kind of found a home. Yeah. I've met so many people said, I was talking to the exec chef from Albert Schloss, and he said to me, Paul, and he said, I just walked in and into a kitchen, not Albert Schloss, the first time I walked in the kitchen, he said, and he worked the train lines before that. He used to fix train track. Yeah. And he walked in and he said, I just felt at home. He said straight away. And I think that's what it does for a lot of people that kind of think, actually, I'm a bit like those people behind that line, and on the floor. I think it's just a lovely place to be if you fit.
Well, that's why I don't feel too guilty that I've moved to the dark side of tech. I like I said, I work with George and his jazz bars. A friend called Chris runs the Lawns, what's it called, the Summer Bowls Club or something, the Bowls Club London, I think it's called, in Finsbury Square. And I help out and I try and keep my toes in as much as I can. But also what I love about the tech side is you're working with different businesses every single day. Yeah. From especially someone like Bizimply that works from the likes of QSR through to casual dining, fine dining. We've got some amazing hotels. We've got large event venues. Like, there's a whole mix. So even our CS team, yes, you have a specialist that might be the hotel specialist or QSR specialist, but actually a lot of them we try and give a big mix, because it's kind of like the thing with hospitality is you're selling food and drinks. You're all selling the same thing, but not everyone does it the same. Yeah, it's exactly like a dish.
That nuance, and I think that's where the tech industry has not struggled, but I think definitely finding its feet or finding its way, where the nuance of what particular brands might do needs to be reflected in what the products are on offer. And people are like, let's just build a product that's so niche that fits one operator. No, that's silly. But I think understanding that's the first step, right, which you do because you've lived in it, that they are different in the way they deliver their product, all of them, in very small ways, probably some of them, but some in bigger ways. And I think that's a unique approach to be able to take to servicing them.
Yeah, look in our space, there are, I was going to say hundreds, but it's probably not hundreds, but there is so much competition out there.
Yeah, I could probably name 15, probably, straight away.
Do you know what? I've probably worked with most of them before in pre-rolls, and you have partnerships. And I love competition. It's the same. I think it comes from even the days of Jamie's and Carluccio's, and the same as Jamie's and Zizzi's. Like, me and Tom, you'd have a laugh at who was the busier, who earned more cash in tips. Yeah. But then at the end of the day, whoever earned more was buying the first bit. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? The one thing I find with competition in tech, and not everyone plays nice, and I wish everyone did, because you don't really see hospitality venues having a go at each other. They kind of try and help each other out, and I hope tech can follow this way. But if there's more people in there, in that space, it's a good thing for the space, because it obviously means there's demand. Yeah. It then means that there's more amazing personalities that are building these fantastic products, and there's more customers saying this is what we want from the product. So the whole space is going to evolve. It also then keeps these incredible people in the industry.
Yeah. So all ships rise with the tide, is that the phrase? Yeah.
And it just means there's more people to go and have a beer with at the trade shows, which is great.
Which is Alex's main aim in life.
People to buy the bar tab, because tech companies have the budget.
Love the fact we keep going back to beer.
Sorry.
And the space is busy, right? And I've probably interviewed 7 or 8 of the workforce guys on this podcast, and I've got to be honest, all of them really impressive people, like all really cool people with cool product. So you're right, it is, but actually that's a great thing. It's like having a football league with 28 great teams rather than 2 that just, like Scotland, where you just have 2 teams that are amazing, the rest kind of just do whatever. But that's the Premier League is kind of like if you had to compare something, really good teams, all with great assets, all with great product, that can compete with each other on any given day, which I think is really cool, right? And they survive-ish.
Well, that's it. And if I look, I've been in my role now at Bizimply for 6 months, and you win some deals, you lose some deals, you win some deals against the same people that you've just lost to the week before. Yeah. Like, it's one thing that I have learned throughout my career of being at different tech companies is the industry is very small.
Yeah.
Never badmouth anyone, and make sure the team never badmouths anyone. Yes, there might be things that you feel your product does better than other people. Great, we'll highlight that. Do not ever say, oh, so-and-so doesn't do that, because the industry is small. People move from tech, and, actually they might go back to being an operator and might be head of projects at an operator. We're starting to see operators have a lot more head of IT, head of project roles. Well, doesn't it make sense if someone like a Wetherspoons takes over, takes someone from a tech company because they
100%.
Understand it all? And that's exactly the way that it's going. The same way that I wouldn't be surprised if most tech companies start having operations directors or head of ITs. I mean, at Jamie's, we had the most amazing guy called Marcin.
I know Marcin.
I haven't spoken to him for a while, but at Jamie's, he used to work at Micros. And I think that it was becoming very expensive to keep asking him advice and come in and help. So I think they just asked him to join the team, and he did.
Sarah Murray, the COO at Coluccio's, guess where she came from? Micros.
There you go.
And do you know what? And probably the most fearsome operator I've ever worked with, but the best, in terms of getting shit done.
Yeah.
Sarah was second to none. And I think it's interesting that I think those roles, and we know through Tim's team at Tech on Toast People, sorry for the plug, but we are seeing candidates from the tech industry saying, put me in that brand, I'll sort it out. Literally, they're saying put us in, but the barrier is that the salary differentiation between the two industries is very different, I think. I think it's like a 40% uplift towards tech than hospitality. But I think when you wrap it round and you look at the actual value of what those people can bring into a brand that are having tech problems, that are having issues with integration, or pick one, they could save you a fortune very quickly. And they just see things different to everyone else. Operators see things one way. I think data people and tech people are very much less emotional, very much more distinct on what they're looking at, and can bring you to a place very much quickly. Sorry, edit that. Bring people to a place much quicker in terms of decision making. I think their value will be proved very quick over the next couple of years or so.
Yeah, just such an interesting space. And I mean, I don't know where you want to move from here, but I just love the idea of thinking that hospitality is enhancing technology. You look at most of the other industries out there, we were probably the last to really take on tech. And yes, okay, if you look at the last few years, there has now been tech for absolutely everything. And a lot of the operators I talk to, and I'm sure you talk to, is where Tech on Taste comes from, but are like, oh, holy shit, I'm getting bombarded by all of these different companies, because they are, a lot of the ones that are VC backed, they suddenly have huge targets and they're suddenly going, we need to hit all these sales. They hire massive sales teams and they're bombarding every single operator, and operators do not have the time. They're time poor anyway. They're now getting told they need tech for everything, where actually they probably don't. Each business is different.
It is crazy. I'm dealing with a customer in Wales. I won't give his name away. He has a couple of hotels, a couple of bars, and a restaurant. And he's got PMS for his hotels. And then he's got EPOS, obviously, in his restaurants. He's trying to get a loyalty program that sits across the two. They're all like dialing in now. But he's trying to get a loyalty program that works across the two and does. But he wants that. That's all he just wants it. And it's become so bloody convoluted because we're dealing with probably 5 or 6 different people in the mix now who are trying to vie for the product. And it's not, he's not an enterprise business. He's not going to be change your world. But it just shows how complex. And he's the owner, right? And he's already his mind's blown. Yeah. And we're helping him. But also my mind is blown because I'm like, how the hell do I manage these? It's like cats in a bag, right? It's just trying to get everyone across the line for him. But almost to the point we're working for free, right? Because we just want to help him. We want to get it over the line. And I think it's just, that is where it becomes complex, where you have, if you could start from brand new, for everyone it'd be easy, right? Brand new tech stack, easy peasy. But when they're existing, they've already got something. It becomes really complex. And then you're looking at, do you really want to change your POS if you don't have to? I mean, because it just feels like pain, especially if you've got multiple sites. So, we're dealing with a lot of that. And it's not confusion in the fact that people don't understand it. It's more about what's out there. And they want to be like the best. They want to copy the best guys in the business. And they're saying, I want what Wagga does. Can you make that happen? But you'll have to work with AVC and you have to buy that and spend that. So that it becomes quite an expensive process potentially. But it's really interesting, and it's not changing. It's getting bigger and bigger. Yeah, I mean, but that's like you said, where you're saying it's easier for the people that are starting from a clean, no tech stack. Yeah. I sometimes find that can be harder because you're educating them on it's true. why you need tech. If there's no cost to something that takes you a long time, but it's free.
when margins are tight, you then come in and go, oh, hi, I'm going to sell you a technology product that's going to cost you money, but it will reduce your margin, you reduce your admin time. And you go, well, I can't see the value of it, which is, I mean, one of those big things at Bizimply is like, consult, don't sell. Like,
yeah, I was going to say, because it is a busy space, right, we mentioned. And what makes you guys, I suppose, in your mind, what kind of stands you out from that crowd? Because that is an interesting, because as we said, every restaurant's got a nuance. What's Bizimply's?
I mean, it sounds very cliche, but the team, like, they are all from the industry. Actually, a lot of the UK on the ground team used to be customers,
right,
and have since the C word and other things have actually decided to move being an operator and asked if there were roles. And, you know, we are focusing, the team has doubled in the last, I think, 6 months, 12 months on the UK on the ground, and we plan to grow that even more aggressively, you know, as we take on more customers in the UK. But we're about 40% UK of our business, and hopefully by the end of next year we'll be 50, 60%. So, you know, for us, it's, if we have people, I kind of went off on a tangent, but if we have people, you know, from the industry, what makes us different is you're consulting and you're there to understand their nuances and actually try and educate them on how tech can help, but also understand it's okay if it doesn't solve every single problem for this person. You know, we've done an RFP recently where we weren't the right product. And, you know, this lady wanted something very, very specific, and she knew exactly what she wanted. And we don't specialize very much maybe in the area that she was looking for compared to some of our others. Did we sit there and try and shoe in something that didn't fit? No. Like, will we learn from that and probably focus maybe improving our roadmap into that area and kind of look at how do we grow? Well, absolutely. And
yeah,
I think,
so I suppose it's a learning curve. And though any kind of call like that, any kind of sales meeting you have, I suppose, any time where you don't win, and sometimes you be careful what you wish for, isn't it? And like you're saying that some people are backed who have to hit those targets may have taken a different approach in that call and may have just, and I'm not saying this is wrong, but just saying that they may have pushed and thought, well, we can develop that. We've got the investment. We can do that. You know, we can kind of next year or so that'll be available. Yeah. But then all of a sudden you're in that road where you're selling something that isn't necessarily available now. And I think it's the single biggest problem I come across where people were sold something where they're trying to, you know, you've got the operator saying, I've got a problem, I need to fix it. You've got the salesperson saying, I've got a sale, I need to close it. Yeah. And then somehow, William Connors told me this phrase, and somehow in the middle, you clash and you kind of got this salesperson's happy, done their job, onto the next one. But then customer success, in about 3 months, are going to pick up this customer and go, oh my God, well, yeah, but that's not on the roadmap and it won't be for another 9 months, for instance. So, yeah. And then all of it, you've got this unhappy customer. And it might be a small one or it might be an enterprise person. But either way, unhappy is not good.
And that starts from the salesperson.
Yeah.
And one thing, I mean, I'm sure other tech companies do it, but Bizimply being at the size of, I think we're 70 people global, we have about 5,500 customers between UK and Ireland, you know, we're not ginormous. So we're still at the size where our head of product, head of engineering talks to our head of customer success, talks to our head of sales. And it's kind of like, well, sales team, why did you pass me someone that, you know, you've sold this feature that we haven't even got, and, you know, product has been talking to, and everyone's kind of in the same room and talking about it. And yes, we argue and people have different visions of where we should take it, which is absolutely fine. But the main thing is, it's okay to lose a deal if the customer wants a specific thing that you don't have. Yeah. You know, never oversell. It's the same as people coming into a restaurant and saying, you know, I want a burger, but it's a pizza place. Like, they're not going to sit there and try and make you a burger out of a pizza.
I think what's really weird about that analogy, actually, that you'll go to some restaurants, especially when you've got kids, and you'll say, oh, they don't like that. And then all of a sudden, some chef will appear with something that the kids like. They'll go out and make fresh nuggets for them, for instance. Yeah. And you're like, wow, that blows my mind. But it doesn't work the other way around, right? Because you can't then go to a product team going, hey, guys, I just promised this. Let's really kind of wow them here and build a new bit. No, mate, that's one person's feedback. We need 1,000 people saying that before we can change. So I think it's really interesting that it's not, you're not delivering, you're not doing it's not a good thing.
Yeah, but it is a good thing to, like, understand and learn from your customers. And, you know, one thing I think tech can do better, and I'm sure every tech company does it, and Bizimply do it very well, it's like having a kind of a, not just a customer advisory board, you know, that's something I think every tech company should have, but also get your teams talking to their customers. What do you want? And we were talking to the founder earlier, and it's like, well, how do we help other tech companies with our current client base? You know, let's ask our customers, what are they looking for? What are they struggling with? You know, and it's really like sitting down and going, okay, well, if I gave you a magic wand, what feature would you have from Bizimply? be enhanced, or what would you like? Do you know
you're
what I mean?
You're going to get common ground, aren't you, when you
Yeah.
do that? At some point, you're going to get like a swell of opinion around one and be like, hang on, guys, there's 80% of our customers are saying we don't do this,
Yeah.
and we should do. And that's something, all of a sudden, that's a no-brainer, right? Get it on the roadmap and get it done. And I think you mentioned support there in your team, and actually, the more I talk to people about, particularly in POS world at the moment, when I'm talking to people about POS, is support and lack of it, or when they're going into a new one, what's the support like? Is it something you're really set on in terms of, I suppose, do you put a lot of effort and energy behind support to make sure that actually the customers, you've mentioned it already, so I know what the answer's going to be, but like that you invest a lot of time into that area?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be quite surprised. We actually only have a support team of 2.
No.
Yeah, because we are very lucky that Gerard created, we call him Ger in the office, I think it might be an Irish thing, created a fantastic, like, easy to use product. Like, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
It's employee management, creating rotas, holiday management. Like, do you know what I mean? It's all that back of house stuff that when we were running restaurants was probably done on Excel. We used to have a big black book, like calendar.
The holiday book.
The holiday book.
Yeah.
And
everybody, if you were
office.
around in the 90s or 2000s, everyone had a holiday book.
That was it. And do you know what I mean? Like, so, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just allowing technology to enhance this space to reduce admin. So for us, we built a very easy to use. We have some amazing brands that basically go, we're not launching a new site. We want to set up Bizimply. Here's the address. Here's the employees. Bang. Done. They can be up and running within the matter of hours.
And you know what's really funny? I was just thinking about the holiday book. Then we used to have a site in, I'm going to say it, Cardiff, and what tech does now, it gives you availability, right? So if someone's booking too much holiday, or you can't book in that period. So my old manager's way of dealing with that, I used to hide the holiday book. So so literally, like, waitress like, okay, I've seen the holiday book. No idea. Can't book a holiday then. So that was that was our defence then. Now it's a bit more update.
The holiday book.
Tech. The holiday book is just one of those magical things that happens in tech. It must be everywhere, right? Everyone must have a holiday book. Even retail
I would imagine even corporate.
Yeah.
There's these.
Who owns the holiday book though? Who's in charge? It's got to be the GM in it. It's got to be the boss.
Yeah. But I mean, do you know, that's it. And like for us, we have 2 people in support, and literally because the training is so good, the product's easy to use. There's a lot of amazing kind of educational bits around it. But go ahead, you sneeze. Yeah. I was going to let you sneeze. Yeah. But also, like, you can. I should probably not say this because I've worked for 3 tech companies, but a bit of a dinosaur when it comes to technology anyway. The wife tends to be the one at home that solves things and figures it out. So like, I'm more of a go and doer, and with Bizimply, it was very much the product is built and designed in a way that you can self-teach it, because it's kind of how you would imagine to do things is how it's been built.
Yeah, it's intuitive.
That's it, and it just sits there, and you go, well, if we've got 5.5, it probably might be more by the time this comes out, but like, that 5,500 customers, and you've only got 2 people in support, that kind of says it all. Like, yes, okay, we're very lucky that we focus on the regions where the time zone's the same. We have customers in other time zones, but we don't have support out of those hours, and it's not a huge problem. They're not key markets for us. But
no, but I love that. It's a key indicator, isn't it? If you don't have a huge support team, it kind of leads to the fact you don't have loads of problems.
No.
So, because if you sat in when I've got 30 in my support team, you'd be thinking, wow, for 5,000 customers, that's a lot of money you're spending on something that's not working, potentially, or you've just got really unhappy customers, which is unlikely. We could do an hour here, but we can't, because no one will listen for an hour. And as you move through, because you've had some really great experience, and we didn't talk about Mr. Yum and me and you a lot, but I think you had a really relevant experience there when you grew that to a point where it was, you were like number 1 person in the UK, weren't you? Like, as in on your own kind of thing, growing that team, which from outside looking in looked like really good fun.
It was absolutely incredible.
Like, I rarely saw you without a beer in your hand.
Yeah, it was. I remember at the start, it was weird because I was on my own. All the team was in Australia, and you're calling hospitality businesses, trying to sell in QR code ordering, which, yes, okay, you were lucky that the government was trying to promote that, but also we were called Mr. Yum, and 9 times out of 10 people were going, well, why is a Chinese restaurant calling me? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm trying to sell you QR code. And, and I was very lucky that also I had some amazing connections in the hospitality industry of the likes of George and Piano Bar and Sam, who used to run Wayland's, which is now run by Joe, and like they were like, okay, yeah, we'll take it on. And so we had some people that bought in.
They're like fire starters on those people.
Hugely.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, like talking to Joe earlier, the other founder, like what your customers say about your product is fantastic. You know, you can use that to then win so much other business. And because you, as an operator, you trust. We were talking about this the other day about the veg man. Like, you know, you go to someone and you say, okay, well, what do you guys use for scheduling? You know, at Bizimply, we win customers just from word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because someone will move to another business or maybe even start their own business and go, oh, I use Bizimply, but over there, it was great. It was so easy. It was really affordable. It was a fantastic system. I'll just give the guys a call.
It's why the hospitality industry, I think, is unique to sell into.
Yeah.
As in, there's nothing like it. Because actually, the internal part will make or break your product for you. Like I said, so if you're doing well and everyone's loving you, then get ready. Because it's coming. Because they'll just start walking up to you and say, we'll sign up. And I did that survey, I talk about it every week. 82% of people buy off their mates. And whether that's right or wrong, because it depends if your mate knows what he's doing.
That could will he be a mate for much longer?
Could be a risk, but it's really unique in the way that we operate, that you're right. You will look next door. Because the nature of hospitality business are close to each other.
Yeah.
You probably go next door and go, oh, what have you got there? That's quite good.
Yeah.
Does it work? That's normally the qualifying question. Does it work? Yeah, mate. Okay. Give me the number. And
I also think that that's sometimes where the issue is, because they go, oh, well, they used it. And you're like, well, yeah, but they don't do the same shift patterns as us, or they don't have the same opening times, or do you know what? They don't have the same staff. You know, we have 10 in the kitchen, they have 3. And like sometimes that's where the tech, I think, really does need to consult and understand the customer, because you kind of have to go, okay, well, yes, they're the same business, i.e. they're selling food and drink, but they are different.
If you had to percentagize how much of that you do in a sale process, or not even a sale, a potential, a lead, how much of your time is spent doing that side of things rather than just really qualifying, understanding, actually, you don't need us or you do need us? Would you say like 50, 60? I don't know.
I think it changes on every single customer. I mean, I think one thing I love is the passing of data. Like there's a real project at the moment of Bizimply where it's like from the moment of chatting to someone, it's gathered data that's going to help every team along the way, because at the end of that, the end goal is that will help the customer, because you're getting to know them as individuals, as a business, the whole way through the journey. So like we sit there with the sales team and we're like, find out what other systems they're using. Even if we don't have an integration with that point of sale, it's really handy to know what they're using.
I always think that someone somewhere must have an integration matrix. I want to build it for Tech on Toast, but God knows where to begin, because everyone's building new integrations every day, right? Or they're connecting to people. It'd be great to have a one central point where you can say, look, this is where everything is. Because everyone does in their website a little bit. They have like partners they integrate into, but it's never that up to date, because how up to date can it be? You can't be doing it every day. But it'd be really interesting to see a matrix of where everybody... Deliverect had it when I was there. They had an internal Airtable that showed everybody they integrated into and who they integrated to. And obviously it wasn't always up to date, but it was a really useful tool. Does it exist?
I mean, how handy would it be if there was a Deliverect, but for the tech?
Yeah.
So everyone is putting all of their integrations into
like
here,
the Peach
and
Tracker,
you could
right? You know where they have the Peach Tracker where they track sales, or Pineapple do now for HR retention. They track an average of lots of different brands on their retention numbers. It'd be great for tech all to get together and go, hey, look, let's build a matrix.
Do you know what we've done the classic tech thing where it's like, this would be so easy, and I reckon my face is on dartboards in the engineering product team room, because I'm like, that would be easy surely, and they probably there's
also a reason why it doesn't exist.
Well, that's it. Do you know what I mean? We've gone, it'd be fine, and the people have gone, no, that's never going to work.
Sarah the other week, I said, Sarah, can you do that? And she's like, oh yeah, I'll get it done by 5. Is that all right? So she hasn't done it, FYI, and she won't be doing it, I don't think. But
and Sarah can do nearly everything.
She'll do anything and everything. But that one, she's looked at me and went, no. But I think that kind of information is the hidden magic or the hidden dust. And I think sometimes it can be used to your advantage, people not knowing that, I suppose. But I think that exposure to that kind of stuff is really cool for operators to be able to say, right, I just need to know, without speaking to anyone, do you all guys all integrate to each other and in a proper way?
I mean, I can flip this on a Bizimply side, and like when we sit there and we specialize in best in breed, and we're like, stay in our lane and do what we do and do it well. If we gather all this information, it really helps our other tech partners grow, because it's kind of like, okay, well, who are you looking for? What are you looking at? What are you struggling with? Oh, actually, you're struggling with this. Well, If it's trunk, well, here's tip jar.
Yeah.
Come and meet tip jar. And do you know what I mean?
It's very well timed since you just saw the founder at the window.
Yeah. Well, actually, I saw Dan Hawker the other day, and him and the team, and they just, I love it. I love the product. I think
very cool.
It's very cool, and it is currently sitting on the bar over there as well. So that's probably why it's in the front of my mind.
Front of mind, yeah, it works.
But that's it. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you can gather this information, yes, don't sit there and sell absolutely everything to all your customers because they're going to be like, "Can you leave us alone for 5 seconds?" But if you're really listening to them, understanding what are their problems, and it pops up that actually they need inventory management, well, go to your inventory management partners.
I think that's that trust piece, right, as well. And one of the things that I just know a bit more about you guys, so I've met more of your team, that actually, if you trust someone, you're very much more likely to buy from them from a product that you probably don't even own, right? That's like, as you say, a partner product, because your recommendation, which also risky for you guys, because recommending someone that might not do as good a job as you're doing potentially. But I think that's the case, right? That people will listen to you and go, okay, if Alex says it's good, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean,
nailing your coffin.
Yeah, crap. Here we go. I mean, but that is one thing you have to look at as a tech company when it comes to partners and it comes to integrations is very much, you want to integrate with people that you can trust yourselves, because if you're going to refer them to your customer, yes, it makes you sticky, but also if we refer it and the integration doesn't work, or the customer the other partner lets you down, the customer might go, do you know what? I'm going to rip both of them out and take something else because there's something else out there. I mean, there is tech companies for absolutely everything, and people have an all-in-one solution. People do best in breed like Bizimply, and it's horses for courses. We're going to win some, we're going to lose some. Obviously, I hope we win more than the losing as we go. And, I feel very confident that the space we're in and the team we've got, we're absolutely going to, excel and hit that gap that I feel really is available in the market at the moment for the kind of employee side. But we're not going to get there without some amazing partners. So, I think really it's understand the customer, know it's okay not to win everything. Don't try and oversell. Don't try and say that you do things when you don't. And just let them grow as a business and have that relationship, because you never know where you might go as a role or where they might end up. And it's just
100%. Be careful who you meet on the way up, isn't it?
Yeah.
And look, and we've got 5 minutes left, so I just wanted to ask you about the future.
Where do I see the future going? There's obviously going to be a bit of AI involvement.
Yeah, that's really exciting, isn't it?
It's the real buzzword. It's exciting, but again, I think there's got to be education around it, because everyone's suddenly going, oh, I want AI to just automatically create rotors for me and like do all the work. And you're like, well,
do everything.
I
just don't want to work anymore.
You kind of want it to help kind of say what you should do, but never fully automate it, because you might have Ross and Rachel on your team, and they might have been in a relationship and they might be on a break. Well, you don't want them to work on the two sections next to each other on the same shift.
I liken this to the piggyback. So if you had an area manager, you could empty him like a piggy bank. You'd tip him upside down and empty all the information out of him. That'd be really. That's what AI can't do.
Yeah.
What's in our heads and what's in our gut when we kind of run restaurants or run areas or run things, it's very. I think it's going to be really difficult to replicate that with AI. I just think you're never going to get that, but. For sure, like it's done in marketing, you can speed up content and get it out there quicker, but you still have to run it over. You can't just...
It's like suggestive. I mean, how we're going to use it is we're looking at playing around with dashboards and things. I don't want to give away too many secrets, but it's going to be there to like enhance the offering, but not replace. Yeah. Absolutely. And I actually think it's going to be the new buzz, a bit like engineers were, and you had people that could code and everything like that, a few years ago. There's now loads of product managers and everything out there. We're going to start getting AI specialists, because I think the skill really is knowing what to ask the AI. You could start asking the wrong questions and putting in the wrong data and getting ridiculous outputs.
And back to our head of projects type role, I think that's going to be their role, where they'll have to, because you can't educate a company. It's very for a tech supplier. You just don't have the time or the budget, right? To go, all right, let's spend 3 years with Wagamama teaching about AI. So it's got to be more about this one chap or lady, whoever it might be, who kind of is the one point of truth for all that, can really help kind of bleed what you're doing into their operations and A/B test it step by step. really slowly roll stuff out. Look, I think it's riveting. I've loved chatting to you, and you are.
Thank you very much for having me.
You are one of the legends from the industry. We do enjoy seeing you, and we're not going for a beer together now, which is quite sad. I've got another podcast.
Weird. I know. Yeah, it's lunchtime, so
it's ready. But if people want to get hold of Bizimply, and particularly because obviously in Ireland you're very well known, but the UK you're still. I mean, you've still got some great customers here. But
fantastic
you're
customers.
kind of making some more waves. Would that be the right way to put it?
Yeah, I mean that's the focus. I think we have been operational in Ireland for about 10 years now, probably the number one by quite some way in the UK. It is a saturated space, so we're not newcomers. We've had customers for many years, but we're doubling down on it, growing the team, investing a lot in the product as well. And so find us on LinkedIn.
They're not messing around. They brought in the Dyer, so yeah.
Wow, no pressure.
A-pot is in town.
Exactly. Well, now I just need Charlie. I need my C-pot along the side of me. But
A-pot, love it.
No, we're bizimply.com, which is B-I-Z or Z-I-M-P-L-Y.com.
Perfect. And what about, can they, I always ask, can people kind of reach out on LinkedIn and have a chat to you?
Yeah, love it. And look, I advise, do it out of the love of my heart for the industry, not for any kind of financial gain. So, if people want to reach out, whether you're an operator looking at what tech you want, whether you're a tech company just looking for a bit of advice, absolutely. I'm a big LinkedIn advocate. So
love it. All right. Well, we're off to watch England lose. And,
whoa.
And we'll see you all next week. Say
Cheers,
bye,
Chris.
Alex.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.